Welcome back. It's our second extension of a separate true crime segment. We're going to start off with Julie and her gridiron, and then after that, we'll transition into Ryan has some on the diamond for us. So, Julie, you're up. Started off
Yep.
right.
Yes. So, in this case, the first is best. So, um, we're going to start with just updating some of our prior stories, which keeps me really busy. I think that is like one of the biggest things, trying to keep track of them after the shenanigans that they do and following it through the court system. That's a full-time job in itself. So we have Robert Quinn here to sort of remind everyone. He is a gentleman in August 15th in one of the Carolinas. He ended up driving drunk into a neighborhood and allegedly drunk. There's a half empty bottle of Jim Beam, but you never know. And running into some cars, he ran into a fence and allegedly also laid hands on a lady. So he turned himself in last week, and he's back out again with $155 personal recognizance bond. But they just released the 911 call as well, and it's kind of wild. You'll be able to find the audio if you go to TMZ Sports, but I don't want to get copyrighted, so we're just gonna South Carolina. There we go. So we're just gonna go through this, but the woman that he allegedly laid hands on, her I believe her son was the one who called in. They described a truck running through the intersection and hitting four cars, and then there's a woman screaming. And the caller says, "My mom's talking to the guy that did it, and he's a little too close to her." And then the woman yells, "Get off my property." And then the caller says, "Don't touch my mom, don't touch my mom." And then the woman in the background screams, "You just hit me, get off my property." And then a third voice says, "The male just hit the complaint's mother." And then a male voice says, "I'm trying to buy you two cars. Can I buy you two cars?" And then when the scene calms down a little bit, then the caller tells 911 about how he totaled two of their cars and then the neighbor's cars. And then he says that the man pushed and hit his mother in the head. That's, of course, alleged. Then the caller suggests that the man is probably under the influence. Yeah, so nothing really big there other than we now have access to the 911 call and can kind of put it together because we had pretty much all of those pieces, but now, like, the fact that it was in the background. So if you want to go see the 911 call, TMZ Sports, definitely worth a listen if you want all the background. So moving on, we got Jimmy Graham here. He played the preseason game and the starting lineup on August 27th and did well. And so it seems like he is leaving his weird medical episode in the past and is good to go. So we're just going to pretend like that little thing didn't happen. So Jamar Chase is the gift that keeps on giving. So he's still pursuing this restraining order with another lady. But what maybe y'all knew, but I didn't know, is that he's also in the middle of a custody battle with an actually confirmed baby mama. Not the restraining order one, but like one where we have a DNA test. It's a 7-month-old son, and his name is Jamar Chase Jr. So probably his son.
Okay.
It was filed in LA court, and okay, I'm just gonna say this lady is a lot. She's asking for 100% of healthcare insurance that insurance doesn't cover, which makes sense for the baby. She wants full custody, and she's asking for $57,400 a month. She wants $15,000 for rent, $5,000 for entertainment, gifts, and vacations. And they didn't break down every single thing, but those were the two big ones. And she
Well,
says she only gets a small government assistance check a month, so she has a lot of needs. She's also asking for transportation, which is makes sense because she is, I guess, because she's driving his son around. But she doesn't want just a car or a bus pass or whatever. She wants registration, insurance, and a specific vehicle, either a Range Rover, a Mercedes Benz, or a Tesla. Yeah, she specified that in court.
I
And
feel like that the 57,000 a month probably more than well covers all of that. Just a hunch. I don't know. Anyway.
it's completely unfathomable for me. And I mean, I have seen some really crazy stuff with what people can get away with, but this just seems so dramatic. I mean, $15,000 for rent alone, and then like I understood the health insurance. That makes a lot of sense to me, but $5,000 for entertainment, gifts, and vacations every single month, like
Yeah.
she points out that he's making a lot of money, and I get that, and I do believe that that's supposed to factor into like how much support you pay based on like your actual income and like what you can do. But this seems like a huge over exaggeration. Frankly, any car that's safe should do, but to actually have brands of cars is wild to me.
It's almost 700,000
Yeah.
without the car and all the other stuff.
Right, and not counting the monthly insurance payments and the yearly registration, that would be separate as well. And the health insurance covering whatever the health insurance doesn't would also not be included in that amount.
That's wow. Okay.
So Chase has some feelings about this. I can see why. He says that this. Okay, first off, this is really something. She moved out to California for the first time in her entire life, right when she was like heavily pregnant with little Junior, and had him there so that she can. He alleges so that she can ask for child support there because they are more likely to grant like it's more favorable child support laws. So he's saying she's been a resident of Texas all of this time. She lives in Texas. Like the baby was mostly, I don't know, raised in whatever. So he's like, the case should happen in Texas, not in California, which makes sense. And I cannot see half of these things flying in Texas. I don't even know if they would in California. But so that's one of his arguments. His other one is that he has leased a home for her since the baby was born, because she kind of made it sound like he's not particularly involved or like helping, I guess. And so he's saying he leased a home for her, he fully furnished it, and he paid like for all of the baby supplies, you know, diapers, cribs, car seats, all those kind of things. And so he's like, I've been involved. Like it's not like she's just been, you know, alone this whole time. So I will be following that case. And then to find out that he could have impregnated another woman, I'm like, what I'm really hearing here is that you need to be a little more careful, Chance, because these ladies are crazy. And so like don't get everybody pregnant at once, okay? And like maybe a little better selection process or safer adult activities, whatever. But this is a rough ride for him, and he's struggling this as he's struggling the restraining order. Kind of crazy. He needs to like kind of fix that up. So we'll be following this court case. It's really, really, I've never heard of anything quite this bad. So with Caleb Farley, they said the cause of the house explosion has been released. The Iredell County Fire Services and Emergency Management in North Carolina, they said it's a natural gas explosion of unknown origin, and the gas meter regulator was recovered from the house and it was in working order. So if anything, it's very much unclear, but still like they've released it. But I do believe that the one that the part of the meter or another meter that registers it by the hour was not working at the time, and they're hoping to be able to get that fixed to see if maybe if there's like some kind of peak that happened. But as far as they can tell, the regulator that was there was in working order, so it would likely, alert them. So I'm not, and the gas should have been working effectively. So we'll just be kind of following that to see if they elaborate any more on that. Brian, did you have anything? Because I know you were gonna.
No, I was just gonna kind of go into what you're saying.
Yeah,
Pretty much
yeah.
cover everything you said. Did they rule out foul play?
No, they haven't because
No? Okay.
again, natural gas explosion of unknown origin, and then as far as they can tell, the equipment was working correctly in terms of regulating the gas in the home. They
Okay.
haven't said that they suspect foul play, and I don't know if this is like, it seems as though they might continue to try to pursue some of the evidence. So we'll just keep an eye on this and see what happens.
Okay.
Yes. All right. So Sam
Man.
Williams, our car man, the one that let's not even talk about Jerry Jones and what he said last week, but we will say that he is definitely slowing down because he missed several practices last week and he has some turf toe, which sounds a little bit like athlete's foot. I don't know. To me it does, but he's got a little turf toe. And he should be ready for week 1, so we shall see. But he's certainly not tearing it up on the field like he was on the streets. Antonio Brown, we haven't heard, I don't believe that he has been arrested, even though there's still the warrant for his arrest, for not paying child support. There were some reports that were released this week. I'm not sure why it took so long, but there are reports that allege that during his time with the now defunct Albany Empire of the Arena football team, that he threatened players with a firearm.
Oh my God.
An AR-RIFLE. And he told the assistant to get it from the car. He was like, "Do I have this weapon in the car?" And he's like, "Assistant, can you go get that during a conflict?" So that scared the Jesus out of the people because it was during a argument. And then the social media manager quit after AB used a slur for people with lower functioning mental capacity. So it was that kind of slur, and now deleted tweets. So he finally hung out the cleats after that. And 14 players and coaches are still pursuing money that they're owed according to their legal counsel. So he's also got that kind of in the background. Yeah. So Kevin Hart is still in a wheelchair after his sprint last week. Wahlberg told him to stay in his lane. Mark Wahlberg, and then he sent him a bottle of Wahlberg's tequila, and thought maybe a little bit of liquid medicine would help him feel a little bit better. But he's letting him know, as a 52, I believe 52, that it is very important to stay in your lane and not get too crazy when you're trying to run. So just following him in his journey to recovery. So thankfully, this week there wasn't too much more, although we're finding out that some things aren't quite being reported by courts so fast because it is Labor Day weekend. So we may find that there is a bit of a deluge when records start to get updated following Labor Day. So we'll see. But Jarvis Jones was arrested Friday for speeding and reckless driving, and he was released an hour after on $2,400 bond. And we have heard that we'll be hearing more after the weekend. And Fred Smoot. Now, this one is not exactly breaking news, but it happened a couple weeks ago. But I bring it up because he was involved in a scandal that we will be talking about in the future whenever these players calm down long enough for me to talk about anything other than what's happening at this very moment. But Smoot, a former quarterback and the Washington broadcaster, was also arrested for not paying child support. How many times does this happen? But anyway, it's not his first brush with the law. He was in a Love Boat scandal in 2006, if y'all know about that one. We will be diving into that debacle in the future. And then in 2013, he had 6 months in jail for DUI, and in 2015, he was found not guilty of a misdemeanor DV charge. So Smoot's kind of an exciting character, but we'll be keeping an eye on him, and we'll also be delving into that particular scandal at some point in the future. So that is everybody on my roster for now. I'm sure it will grow substantially, but maybe not, because maybe during the year when they actually are like playing and they have less spare time, maybe this will slow down a little bit. We'll just have to see. So next we're going to be doing true crime on the diamond, and that is Ryan is bringing that for us this week.
Yeah, there's plenty of true crime on the diamond this week, actually. So many of you might know, a firearm violent action occurred during a Chicago White Sox and I believe Cleveland Guardians game. Shooting involved a firearm that went off inside Guarantee Rate Field, according to Chicago's interim police superintendent. The interim superintendent, Fred Waller, said, quote, "We're dispelling a lot of things. A shot coming from outside is something we've almost completely dispelled. We're still looking at every avenue. It's still under investigation. Something from inside, it could have happened that way. We're looking at every avenue, exploring every lead that we can get." Oh, goodness gracious. And then Mayor Brandon Johnson stressed incident was still under investigation, adding there wasn't clear indication of where the shot actually came from. Now, two women, I believe it was, were injured from the incident. One was grazed and one was actually shot in, I believe, her arm. Yeah, so from my research of this whole debacle, it just seems like a bunch of empty words and nothing else coming from it. And what do you guys think?
I would say that's fairly normal for the police, especially if they're pursuing a particular person. Sometimes you need to look at what they're not saying instead of what they are saying. And so often they'll keep things pretty vague when they have something, but they don't want to come out and say it because it could alert that person. However, not entirely sure that the situation totally fits that, since it seems so random and it's hard to say. So there may be extenuating circumstances that we don't know about. There likely is. And so they don't want to say too much and then have the wrong people know where they're at. And they also just might not know anything, but feel like they need to address it because people are going to be asking. So if they don't say anything at all, that also won't look great. So that is my guess.
Yeah,
So
then go ahead, Caleb. Yeah.
it happens. It couldn't happen. I mean, granted, like all of 13 fans show up to White Sox games these days.
Stop it. Oh my God.
Sorry. We're not talking about that.
No.
You're at a very public venue. A freaking firearm goes off. 2 people are hit. How hard is this? I'd probably check out the 2 people.
Well, not when you have 13 people there.
Yeah, I mean, you got like a 20% chance of getting the right people.
Well, it's a big issue because the reports say that the woman who caused the firearm to go off had it under her shirt, which is how she got grazed in the stomach. and shot her friend
So
or a
what
person sitting next to them.
how is this not like case closed? What is going on here?
I don't know. It's
What is mucking up? I
I
don't get
don't
it.
know if it, uh, are they trying to figure out if it was premeditated, if it was just the hurt being done was, which is, sounds pretty likely in this case. I would also think that they're probably also investigating how they got it in there because that is the most scary part of it. Well, I don't know if I would say that because someone with no idea about firearm safety randomly firing it where there's 13 people is kind of terrifying, but we also need to ask how did it get there? Because if this incompetent individual was able to do that, what if someone, because we live in a time when this happens a lot and it's often more than two people, what if someone else with less with ill intent was able to similarly sneak a firearm in? So I'm guessing that that is also a significant part of this.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I mean, it seems pretty clear cut. I mean, if they know the two people that were hit and they know it didn't come from outside the stadium, then I think that that pretty much narrows it down.
you
Yeah,
would think.
But yeah, like Julie
So-
said, trying to figure out how the heck it even got in there.
and maybe
Yeah.
it's an intent issue. Was this person like trying to actually like hurt the other person? But why would you go to a game to do that? But then if you start asking why do criminals do what they do, then that is a long slippery slope because most of the time there's there's not, if there is a reason, it's ridiculous, so hard to say. But that would also be any other guess. Was she aiming for someone else? Why'd she have it at all? Was she intending to hurt this person and wasn't able to? What was like, so intent is going to be a big one here, but it does seem fairly straightforward. And the way that the who was it, the police chief or whatever, the way he
Interim superintendent.
yeah, the way he communicated that is leaves more questions than answers and probably could have been articulated a little bit better. There's a lot of questions surrounding this, and I think we'll definitely have to have Ryan continue to follow this so that we can see if there's anything, any other nefarious or any other activity that occurs around this one.
The Sox are giving the NFL as a whole a run for their money and who's gonna produce more head here. Because holy smokes, pound for pound, they might be kicking the NFL's ass this year.
It's every week. Imagine like going to the game. You already only got 13 people, and then 2 people end up injured. Like the way to like discourage the other 11 from coming back.
Yeah. Worst game ever.
Goodness gracious. Caleb, you actually have Julie thinking 13 people go to White Sox games.
Are you implying that I don't know? Okay, Ryan, that's offensive.
I'm more like 19 that go.
Okay, it's more like 22.
Ryan, don't talk down or imply that my intelligence is not at a level that I don't understand this. But anyway.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Yeah, we don't want to make a true crime segment out of you, so we're gonna move on to our next one.
Okay. Yeah, let's move on to our biggest hit for true crime lately, Wander Franco. Another update.
I mean, I wouldn't say he's the biggest hit because I have a lot of hits, but one of
yeah, he's been a driving force behind true crime in the last couple of weeks. So a Dominican Republic prosecutor is investigating second complaint that Franco engaged in a relationship with a minor. This makes 3 accusations against the 22-year-old All-Star. Investigators hope to speak with Franco in the coming weeks. The third girl has yet to speak to authorities, and they're still investigating her alleged relationship with Wander, according to sources. Now, the legal age of consent in Dominican Republic is 18 years old. Anybody over 18 that engages in an inappropriate relationship with someone younger than 18 can be charged criminally. And in this case, MLB often waits to discipline players under its joint policy with MLBPA until after the criminal investigation concludes. Prosecutors' investigation into Franco is expected to continue well beyond season's end.
Yeah.
Sources say MLB, MLBPA, and Franco's U.S.-based lawyer declined to comment for article written by Jeff Passan.
Yeah, I bet they do decline to comment.
Yeah. So Wander Franco seems to be in hotter water every week, and also at the same time seems to be following in the footsteps of Massage Monster,
But worse.
but worse.
I mean, I don't want to quantify what's worse, but I would say when we're dealing with children
Yeah, it's much worse.
versus grown women, that I would say that that's worse.
Yeah.
But both are obviously awful. But yeah, it just continues and spirals downwards, and we probably will find out that he is the Josh Duggar of baseball in no time.
Yeah.
Oh goodness.
I mean, man.
I mean,
you
at
had-
least they're teenagers. With Josh, it was anyway. I won't even say at least. Unexcusable.
It's something new every week with Wander now.
The girls are continuing. The fact that the other two actually came forward, like, what a stressful, awful experience for such young girls to have to deal with these sort of matters. And then if they end up going to have to go to trial, I mean, how traumatizing in addition to what is already happening. So definitely, like, really thinking about the victims here. And I hope they figure out all of the people that he has wherever he has them, and that he gets the full consequences for his actions under the laws, whatever that is, there, and that the MLB takes that and does something with similar, as severe as they can.
Yeah, he'll definitely be experiencing the consequences twofold. So
Yeah.
that's a
I don't
wrap, I imagine.
Yeah.
And probably being free of, man, I don't know
From
that
what
stuff.
I've heard,
He's
they
done.
don't really appreciate those kind of individuals in prison.
Oh yeah.
Definitely,
Your-
there's. Yep.
Your
So gotta
sources
let
might
them
be pretty
sort
good.
that one out. Yep.
Yeah, your sources might be on target with that one, Julie.
Yep. So whatever. We'll just let them sort that one out.
We'll leave it up to them.
Yep.
So, our last diamond crime of the Labor Day show, Urias for the Dodgers, pitchers for the Dodgers, arrested on felony DV charges Sunday. Second time in 4 years he's been arrested for DV. The 27-year-old is set to be a free agent, and he was released on a $50,000 bond around 4 o'clock this morning. Yeah.
Not a good way to spend your off day.
No, he has a court date set for this 27th of this month. In 2019, he was arrested on suspicion of DV, under the umbrella of DV, but wasn't charged, and he also received a 20-game suspension under the MLB DV policy. No player has been suspended twice for policy violation since its institution in 2015. The MLB is investigating the case according to sources. Players charged with DV are normally placed on administrative leave by MLB during investigation. His court date is scheduled for the last week of the season, so he's more than likely going to be unavailable for the rest of the year for the Dodgers.
Oh no.
Yeah, and to make matters worse, more has come out since this story broke 4 or 5 hours ago. He caused corporal injury to his wife's face, body, whatever have you. So that makes it even worse for him. Sort of like a Greg Hardy situation we had a couple years ago.
They did a little Alvin Kamara. Is
Yeah.
what we're getting the idea.
Yep.
Yeah.
So more of this crap keeps happening in sports today, and it's getting
It
out of
doesn't
hand.
keep happening, Ryan. It has always been happening. We just have greater awareness, and we're actually charging people instead of whatever goes on in your home is your business. And so I don't think that it happens more often. I just think that like you can't sweep it under the rug. That is my opinion. But I am happy to see that they are catching people, and the MLB can teach the NFL a little bit about how to suspend people for things. Because
Yeah.
20 games is a lot just for suspected.
Yeah, it is, and I don't know if
Pitcher, that's only kind of 4 games
something like
they
that. Yeah.
a day, essentially. So it's really not as bad as it sounds. Like if he was a positional player, it'd be different. But yeah, starting pitcher.
Maybe do they have to do like the same number of games for every position, or is it a position by position punishment?
I think it's just a flat rate.
For
Yeah,
for a violation of the policy, I'm not sure if there's a set rate.
Percentage wise, I mean, 4 games for a starting pitcher, you probably get what, Ryan, like 35 starts a year.
If you're lucky, if you're an ace, you probably get 35 starts a year. Yeah.
So I mean, it's comparable to your center fielder getting 20, I suppose, because he can play all 162.
Yeah.
So,
maybe they can't just give him more games because of the nature of his position, but maybe not. I don't know. I definitely don't know enough about that, but it feels stiffer, but maybe not. But I do appreciate that they are at least acknowledging and taking it seriously. So good to see.
He's not going to pitch again this year.
Yeah, Urias is out for the year. He's going to be out for the year. I would almost bet.
Probably for next year too, I'd imagine, right?
Well, we saw Trevor Bauer was out for almost 2 years, I think it was.
Yeah.
For allegations of violating the policy.
So that was like team suspension, right?
No, he was on administrative leave. Bauer was.
So the team did that.
No, the MLB did that, and they extended it
while it was being investigated.
Yeah.
There shouldn't be much investigated here in terms of that's not going to take.
Yeah, it sounds like there's nothing that's being suspected this time.
Yeah.
Bauer's situation was more of a, bedroom thing, whereas Urias decided he was going to use his wife as a punching bag. So,
yep.
Much different situation, should be looked at much differently than what Bauer was. I think Urias should get the full extent.
I see. I agree.
Yeah. So, as always, crawling into the dredges of the human condition. Yeah.
Yes.
We love to see it. We love to see it. So we'll be back next week with even more dark topics and updates on the ones that we've already discussed.
Absolutely.
Can't wait.
All right. Well, have a great Memorial Day, everyone.
Memorial Day.
Labor Day.
It's Labor Day, Julie.
Okay, that is a jet lag. Don't even talk to me.